The live stream for Where Clouds Embrace the Dawn, aka Zenless 2.0, just concluded, which means we have a lot of new information on our new limited units, Xuan and Ju Fufu, as well as our new A-rank unit, Yinhu. We also got a lot of other brand new information that we need to go over, but we'll discuss that in a separate video because we need to dedicate our full attention to these insane units dropping in the next couple of weeks. Now, normally with my breakdown videos, we not only brainstorm about the strengths of these characters and their potential teams, but I also mention why I'm skipping one unit over the other every patch. Well, for 2.0, I think we're going to have to change that formula a bit because as of right now, I'm not sure what unit I'm going to be skipping. Both Xuan and Ju Fufu are looking like very valuable units coming into Zenless that I think I personally don't want to miss out on. So for this video, we're going to be breaking down their full kits, discussing potential team comps, and providing reasons for why you would invest into either unit based on the current state of your account and how your future pools are looking. To start, let's begin with the Grandmaster herself, Xuan. Xuan is an S-rank Auric Ink Rupture agent, which is the first of her element and class, making her a very unique character in Zenless, but she shares a lot of similarities to other aspects of the game, allowing her to still feel familiar. For instance, Auric Ink is a form of ether that fundamentally works very similar. The relationship between these elements seems to be just like frost and ice, where they have their own multipliers and anomaly buildup, but they are considered equivalent. This means that they can trigger disorders off of each other, modifiers that buff ether will buff Auric Ink, and abilities that require the ether attribute will accept Auric Ink as ether. This is really good because it'll allow Xuan to seamlessly fit into a lot of teams without any hassle at all. They even made quality of life adjustments to existing characters' additional abilities to accept the Rupture class, allowing Xuan and future Rupture agents to have units to work with. I love that they did this because they could have easily made a scummy decision and forced players to pull for new units to work with this new class. But with these changes, they are actually giving players a choice, which is great to see. Now, speaking of Rupture, you guys are probably wondering, what does this class even do? Well, it was described as a class that possesses both offensive capabilities and survivability through a new damage type known as sheer damage, which deals a large amount of damage by ignoring an enemy's defense. This is what's somewhat called true damage, as there's no defense stats or modifiers that can prevent the enemy from taking full damage from the user. Now with Xuan, she has sheer force, which is a new stat that increases the power of sheer damage while converting a portion of a Rupture's agent attack to sheer force. Xuan is then able to take that and increase the power of her own sheer force based on her max HP, which is insane to even hear because it already sounds like this class is going to be dealing a lot of damage anyway. This is definitely where the Void Hunter like level of power is coming from, and honestly I hope they tame it somewhat, as we don't need a unit to be eclipsing the likes of Miyabi and the rest of the cast. I will say though, I am happy that we're finally getting an agent that can use these HP rolls that I've been getting for months now. I've saved them because I figured we were going to get an HP scale agent at some point, but for it to be Xuan, I was really not expecting that at all. To bring it back to her kit though, Xuan has a unique take on the energy system known as Adrenaline, which allows her to automatically build energy over time instead of having to gradually build it through her actions or other means. Now this new form of energy can be spent in various ways, and it seems to provide enhancements to her overall kit. For example, they show Xuan EX Special consuming Adrenaline on the initial activation, while also granting her the ability to parry an enemy's attack. She was then able to perform EX Special again as a follow-up, but this time the skill doesn't consume any energy. I believe this is because Adrenaline grants Xuan free energy usage when performing certain skills. If this is the case, that will make her super meter efficient and potentially a damage powerhouse for players that know how to execute with her really well. While dealing damage to enemies, Adrenaline then converts into technique points, and once her gauge is maxed, she can activate her ultimate Endless Talisman Suppression, granting her an Auric Ink point. This is indicated through the orb on her unique meter under her health bar. When this point is consumed, Xuan's bird companion possesses her, giving her access to new special techniques dealing ink damage. This is basically an install super that enhances Xuan's core kit for a period of time. For instance, her basic attacks have new animations, properties, and more than likely deals more damage. This form of utility with ultimates is something that I've actually been asking for because I know it could have offered really cool and exciting new ways to play characters. They kind of did something similar with Evelyn Zenless ultimate as well, but Xuan definitely took this a step further, leaning more into what I was looking for. Enough of her ultimate though, let's talk about her special attack, Shadow Ignition. This is a skill that allows her to quickly retreat from her enemies and launch a forward moving attack. This move has a perfect dodge property attached to it as well, making it a strong evasive tool that shortcuts to the final hits of her basic attack combo while also restoring adrenaline. We then have her first EX special attack, Cloud Shaper, that is triggered by holding basic attack after performing Shadow Ignition. This skill is pretty similar to Nicole's Ether Orb, where it's able to pull enemies nearby, providing Xuan amazing grouping capabilities. It also accumulates a good amount of anomaly buildup for what it seems, deals a great amount of damage, and also has the perfect dodge property tied to it, but it enters her into the vital view state as if she performed an evasive assist. This skill is stacked, and I like it a lot because it allows Xuan to have that clear potential of units like Miyabi and Evelyn, which is really good. How fast the DPS can clear mobs in a mode like Xiyu drastically sets them apart from other DPS because being able to clear that fast sets the overall pace of an encounter more often than not. Next we have her EX special attack, Ink Manifestation. This is more of a defensive skill that can be charged by holding her EX special attack, allowing Xuan to build up auric ink that attacks in tandem with her, dealing massive damage to enemies. If Xuan is attacked while charged, she will automatically block the attack, but if she is attacked the same time the skill activates, she will parry the enemy's attack to negate the damage and still perform her skill while also recovering adrenaline. This is where the depth of this character starts to come into play. It seems like a lot of the things in her kit are going to be consumed by adrenaline on activation, but if you learn enemy patterns and trigger her skill with precise timing, she rewards players' execution with being able to quickly recover adrenaline, granting you more opportunities to use the skills in her kit. I think it's amazing to provide players the ability to do more with the character if you properly utilize her, because it strikes a perfect balance of providing that power fantasy that casuals love, while also being able to offer the depth that advanced players are looking for as well. Finally, we have a unique dodge with Xuan known as Nimbus Step. This is a fast reversing movement mechanic that grants her access to basic attack Auric Array, which is a skill that unleashes a field of massive auric damage while continuously restoring adrenaline for a period of time. In order to perform this skill, Xuan has to consume an auric ink point, which I believe is worth it because the idea of this skill is to use it when you're really low on adrenaline. This means if you properly know how to manage adrenaline and take advantage of her ways to recover it, you may never need to waste the ink point on this skill ever. Overall though, understanding Xuan on a casual level is simpler than you probably think. When in combat, your goal with Xuan is to consume adrenaline in order to accumulate technique points. This can be done by using her special attacks, and if they are timed properly, Xuan not only negates damage and deals her own, she also recovers adrenaline, which helps players build even more technique points. Once the max amount of points have been accumulated, Xuan is then able to activate her ultimate to enter her enhanced state, granting her access to new moves in her kit. Once her ultimate is ready with her decibels this time, she can then perform her second ultimate, Xingming Sky Shade, which is a lethal strike that groups enemies and deals massive damage while distributing HP evenly amongst her squad. This ultimate also takes her out of the enhanced state, requiring you to repeat her rotations again. And that's Xuan. This character offers so much in a single kit, making her easily the most complex character in the game. I think how they design her kit allows her to be easy to pick up for new players, but harder to master, which I personally enjoy. She's a character that I wasn't originally super excited for, but after seeing more about her kit, I honestly can't wait to get my hands on her. Well, now when it comes to potential teams for this character, I believe her best options will be our new units coming into the game with her. This is because these characters have been designed to directly complement her style of play, but that doesn't mean that they'll be her only options either. They did make these quality of life changes to the older units in order to work with the Rupture characters, so if I had to guess, some of her teams in 2.0 will more than likely be Pokra Astra Xuan, Pan Yinhu and Lucy, and of course Ju Fufu Pan and Xuan when she drops. These are just some of my guesses off the top of my head, as we don't know how she will completely operate on teams. She could be similar to anomaly characters where she may not care that much about stun units. She might have burst DPS potential, allowing us to rock dual DPS teams, or her true partners could lie in the defense class. We don't know. All we can do right now is assume based off what we have in front of us and wait until we get our hands on her, which is pretty soon. I can't wait to learn so much more about Xuan and the Rupture class as a whole, because there's still so many questions to answer. Until then though, if you're someone who's interested in pulling Xuan, I say go for it. This is the perfect time to grab this unit because her best partner Pan will be available on her banner, hopefully guaranteeing you a copy of him when pulling for her. This means that 2/3 of your team is already going to be completed, so you can easily just slot in a free-to-play support to fill that final slot for you for the time being. Also, Xuan is more than likely going to be strong enough to carry teams for a while, granting players plenty of time to wait for units that they want to invest into for her team, which is perfect. Honestly, Xuan is one of those characters that it doesn't really matter what your account is looking like, she'll be a great addition regardless because of how powerful she is alone. But even with that said, it's great to have a partner for her, so you might as well invest into the head chef himself, Pan Yinhu. Pan is our new A-rank physical defense unit that provides strong supportive capabilities for rupture units while dealing a decent amount of damage. His core gimmick is tied to his EX special attack, Mountainous Post Strike, which grants him 3 break force, allowing him to unleash Touch of Death on his enemies by targeting their pressure points. Every time a TOD lands, Pan consumes 1 break force each, and he even triggers a quick assist that grants his squad member a sheer force boost based on a percentage of Pan's attack when they enter the field. This is primarily why you build this character, because he's the only unit that offers a buff for the new damage type, making him a perfect partner for Xuan. Now, something I forgot to mention is that once Pan EX Special is activated, Touch of Death can be performed on or off field, allowing him to support his team as if he's an aftershock unit. This is important to know because Pan's additional ability states that when there's a Rupture character or Yunkai Summon member on his team, hitting an enemy with Touch of Death will inflict a debuff that causes all attacks to deal additional damage to that enemy over a period of time. The more pressure points Pan hits, the longer the debuff remains active. This is a really nice buff that I wish more characters could take advantage of, but because his additional ability is so restricting, you have no choice but to pull for either Xuan or Ju Fufu to activate it, which kinda sucks. Next we have his chain attack, which trust me, you're barely going to use it. This has a cool animation, but it's too long and it doesn't seem to do anything but deal damage. This is kinda the same with his special attack, resulting into both of these moves feeling like filler. But his ultimate, on the other hand, is extremely useful. This skill has Pan chefing it up to deal physical damage while also restoring a small amount of HP to his whole squad and continuously restoring their health over a short period of time. We finally have another healing super, and it's on an A ring. This skill is going to be a really good one for anyone on Pan's team because it allows him to increase their survivability just like every other defense unit in the game. He definitely needed this because if we look at the other aspects of his kit, unlike every other defense unit, Pan doesn't offer his team any form of shields. This was actually pretty surprising to me, and it had me wondering what part of his kit was going to allow him to protect his team. But thankfully, his ultimate is able to fill that role, and honestly, I think it's better than the shields that the other A-rank defense units provide. I also think this ultimate was designed to help specifically with Xuan's teams because if we remember, her second ultimate distributes HP amongst her squad in order to increase its survivability a bit longer. With Pan's ultimate, we can complement hers by healing the remaining that's needed. This further cements Pan as being a perfect partner for Xuan, honestly making team building for him really easy. If you want any suggestions, I would say Pan's best team in 2.0 are going to be Poker Xuan Pan, Xuan Pan Caesar, and Ju Fufu Xuan Pan, of course. There's honestly no reason to rock Pan without Xuan from the looks of it because you want a unit that will fully utilize his kit. Currently, Xuan is the only one that will truly take advantage of that, but as more Rupture agents release, Pan team comps will expand over time. Overall, Pan is a really simple character that can easily get his game plan going. When in combat, you want to bring him on field to trigger his EX special when the energy is available. Once this skill is active, Touch of Death can be unleashed, and then you can quick assist into the next agent to grant his squad the sheer force buff. Now, even though we switch to a new agent, Pan should remain on field until he lands every Touch of Death, inflicting the enemy with a debuff that increases the damage output for his entire team. Finally, when his team's HP is low, activate his ultimate to apply a heal over time to increase their survivability. And that's Pan, a very straightforward character that currently only holds value when paired with Xuan, but that's okay because Xuan is going to be one of the most played units in the game for at least the next year. This means that more than likely Pan will retain this value for a long time, and it'll increase every time a new Rupture agent releases. If you don't plan to pull for Xuan, I say at least attempt to pull for one copy of Pan so you have him ready when the next Rupture agent release. I imagine he'll be their best in slot for a while until we get a limited support that buffs sheer force in the future like him. Until then though, enjoy our Kung Fu Panda. Enough of him though, let's finally get into our last limited agent, the cute furball herself, Ju Fufu. Ju Fufu is an S-rank fire stun unit that accumulates a unique resource known as might and momentum to deal physical and fire damage with her mysterious artifact, HoYoverse. These two are basically a duo, meaning they attack enemies together while they're on field. But a unique thing about HoYoverse is that he's able to automatically attack enemies even when Ju Fufu is off field due to her core passive, Ferocious Might. This allows him to act on his own and deal a bit of damage over time. HoYoverse's DPS can also be increased by consuming momentum to deal fire damage while slightly building might back. This allows him to be pretty meter efficient when Ju Fufu's off field, making him not only a great partner for Ju Fufu, but their team as a whole. Now when Ju Fufu accumulates a certain amount of might, she can perform her EX special or ultimate to pop off, triggering HoYoverse to spew fire and popcorn at enemies while triggering the Tiger Roar effect. We'll talk more about this later into the video. After this skill ends, Ju Fufu and HoYoverse then enters a spinning state that consumes the remaining momentum to attack their enemies. Their teamwork together makes Ju Fufu an insane stunner because not only is all of this building a good amount of days, she'll potentially be dealing more damage than any stunner in the game. I like this a lot because it allows Ju Fufu to be a very active unit on and off field while also making DPS stunner a more viable thing than we probably ever expected. She even has great supportive capabilities when she triggers her chain attack suppressing Tiger Cauldron. This skill grants the Tiger Roar effect, which we mentioned earlier, and this increases her team's crit damage, chain attack damage, and ultimate damage. This is by far the best buff that a stun unit can give, cementing her as the best universal stunner in the game. If nothing else had sold you on this character's trim, then this buff alone had to have done it. Team Ju Fufu, baby! Next we have her basic attacks, where she unleashes a 4-hit slashing attack that can lead into an endless flurry of strikes if you repeatedly press attack after the 3rd hit. Pausing or holding basic attack before pressing again will end this flurry and unleash the final strike. Moves like this is something that I'm not really a fan of because it's a bunch of mashing, but I'm sure it's going to be pretty good to finish off Daze bars. Now one thing you should notice is that this flurry only deals physical damage and it doesn't seem to build any might for Ju Fufu, so even though you can spam it, the reward is pretty low for using it. Now we have her special attack, which has a long name that I'm not saying. This skill triggers Fufu to spin forward with a slashing attack before launching a falling slash dealing fire damage. This skill seems to easily transition into her basic attack combo, but from what I can tell, it starts at the very beginning of it. So not that useful in my opinion, but it is there. Then we have her EX special attack where she wields, I'm tired of saying his name, swinging it around to strike enemies while gaining both might and momentum. I can imagine this move dealing a considerable amount of days, but ideally it seems like its main use is to fill Ju Fufu's meter. Next we have her cute dash attack where if she holds the attack for dodging, Fufu will spin on her artifact at high speeds, slamming it into enemies dealing physical damage. When coming into contact with enemies in this state, Fufu will consume momentum dealing fire damage and gaining might back. This is another move in her kit that allows her to consume her meter to deal damage and build days while also being meter efficient. I'm not sure how often we're going to use this move since it's kind of slow, but I can't imagine it could have some use cases. After dealing damage, if Ju Fufu has enough might, she will consume a certain amount to automatically launch her chain attack. While this is active, you can switch into another character and Ju Fufu will remain on field dealing damage to the nearest enemy. This sounds really interesting. It seems like she can perform a chain attack outside of stun, like Evelyn potentially, but not exactly in the same way. It seems like they treat this more like an aftershock attack, which I kinda like because this means you are still getting the chain attack buff from her while also being able to DPS or perform another chain with your other units. We'll definitely have to look more into this once we get our hands on her. We then have her additional ability, which states that when an attack or rupture agent is in her squad, the maximum decibels for every unit increases, and when either class uses their ultimate, they build a certain amount of decibels back. This is actually pretty good. It's basically Evelyn's M1 but for free on Ju Fufu, and it mostly applies to everyone on her team. You're probably going to be getting maybe 1 or 2 extra ultimates in a long encounter like Deadly Assault, which is good because that can result into hitting 20k clears more consistently and even getting DA kills faster. Finally, we have her perfect assist follow-up and ultimate. Honestly, the follow-up is only being mentioned here because you build momentum from it. It's basically like how Poker's evasive assist follow-up builds stacks for her, making it a nice touch to the kit. Ju Fufu's ultimate basically does the same thing as well, but it builds might and momentum points. Both are really good seals that overall complement Ju Fufu's game plan, so definitely keep these in mind. Man, there was a lot to talk about with this character, which I didn't expect at all. I knew Xuan was going to be a pretty in-depth character, but Ju Fufu actually surprised me a lot with her kit. I will say though, she seems like she's a bit easier to pilot since some of the things are just automatically going to happen in her kit. The main things you need to worry about when using Ju Fufu in combat is making sure that you keep her resources filled. Might and momentum is primarily how her and her artifact gets the party started, so having her entering the field and triggering her EX special is a great way to go. You can use her perfect assist starting off her rotation since it provides momentum as well. The main things you need to be worried about when using Ju Fufu in combat is making sure that you keep her resources filled. Might and momentum is primarily how her artifact and her gets the party started, so having her entering the field and triggering her EX special is a great way to go. You can even use her perfect assist starting off her rotation since it provides momentum as well as it allows her to conserve energy. Once her unique meter is filled, you then need to trigger EX special attack to have her artifact pop off and deal fire damage to enemies while triggering the Tiger Roar buff. While this is active, this is the perfect time to switch into another unit since your entire team is dealing more damage now, and Ju Fufu can continue assisting the team with her artifact off field. Once Ju Fufu ultimate is available, you can pop it and instantly fill up her meter, allowing her to set up and perform her rotations all over again. That probably still sounded like a lot, but trust me, you'll get the hang of it once she comes out. Ju Fufu was looking like a really good unit coming out in 2.0, and I was definitely underestimating her as she was a unit that I was planning to skip, but she honestly might be the character I'm most excited for, which is crazy for me to say. I think it's because her potential team comps has me super interested in seeing how they'll perform, and I believe she'll be a great addition to the teams I'm looking forward to build. Just to give you guys a peek at some of them, I'm looking forward to testing Ju Fufu, Lighter or Liking and Hugo, Ellen, Ju Fufu, and Caesar to see what the new buffs are hidden on, and maybe even Evelyn, Ju Fufu, and Xuan. That last team is possibly a stretch because it depends if Xuan has burst DPS potential. We'll definitely test it out and see though. All in all, Ju Fufu is a very flexible unit who can work with a lot of different characters. This will expand even more once we get additional Rupture units to join the cast, as we get additional Rupture units to join the cast as well, and I can't wait to see when that happens. If you're someone who's interested in picking up Ju Fufu, then I highly recommend it as she's a great universal stunner who can replace characters like Lighter, Qingyi, and Trigger if you don't have them. She's also a great addition to add to your roster even if you do have them, because all of them provide support to characters in different ways, allowing them to fill niches where certain characters can't. I already know people are going to rush to the comments and scream power creep because I said that, but I'm telling you guys now, more options doesn't automatically mean power creep, and we'll end that topic there. All in all, that's everything for the Yunkai Summit faction. These characters are bringing a lot of new tools to the table that has me excited to see how they'll be shaping the game. I know everyone is already expecting Xuan to have a major impact on the meta similar to Miyabi, but I think everyone also needs to keep an eye out on Pan and Ju Fufu as there will be major influences in their department as well. These characters are all the blueprint for what we should expect for this patch life cycle, and that just has me excited because we're already starting off with bangers for the first patch. Anyways, I rambled long enough. I appreciate you guys and all your love and support. Let me know in the comments below, who do you plan for? After all of this, I still haven't made up my mind, so we might just have to end up grabbing everyone. We'll see how my pulls are looking once 2.0 launches. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Join the Discord if you haven't yet, and remember to believe in you that believes in yourself. I'll see you guys in the next one.